All right, so picture with me. You might not have to picture this because it might be your reality. Picture you are a busy business owner. Picture you are just working on all the things. Maybe you're presenting, maybe you're serving clients, maybe you're doing the thing, and you don't have time to working on all of your graphics. And so instead of working on your graphics, you get your team to do that. You say to your VA, oh, hey, put up this social media post or whack up this flyer or make this sales page for me, and you do the thing. Then you get back the design that your team has made for you, and it looks rubbish. It looks like something that maybe a preschooler could have done or someone who's not great at design has done. Do you know why? Because they're not great at design. Your VA, unless they've been trained as a professional graphic designer, they're not a graphic designer. And so oftentimes we think and expect our team to be able to just whip out these okay things, when in essence, they don't have the ability to do that. And so in this episode, what I want to talk through is how we can actually equip our team to do a good job with our branding, because what's going to happen if they don't is 2 or 3 things. Firstly, you're now going in and fixing up the designs because you're not happy with them. Therefore, you're wasting just as much time as if you had done it in the first place. And the reason you hired them was so that you could save time. But now you're just giving them jobs to do, paying them to do a job you don't like, and then fixing yourself, and so you're spending even more time. Not ideal. And then the next option is that you're just posting up the bad graphics. And the bad graphics are then going to drag down your business, especially if you've already spent time getting a really great brand. And so it's really important that we're not just posting graphics for the sake of it. We need to post graphics that are going to elevate our brand, to speak to our message, to call in our ideal client, to communicate our point, to get people to see us and purchase from us. That's the point of posting and sharing any sort of graphic. Or the third option, I guess, is that you don't post at all. You have these great things or these not great things that your team has made for you, but you don't have time to fix them, and you know you're not proud enough of them to post them, so then your business isn't showing up. None of these options are great. And so I want to help you actually assign things to your team in a way that's going to elevate your brand, equip them, make you proud, save you time, and actually grow your business. So let's dive in. So hi, if we haven't met before, my name is Jacqui and I am the graphic designer for business owners to help them create their own incredible brand and graphics. And that could be your team as well. And that's what I want to chat about today, that if you have anyone working on your graphics for you, these are the things you need to know. This is part of a 4-part series I'm doing on $1 million branding. So first we chatted about the myths behind $1 million branding, so you can go back and watch that or listen to that. We also chatted about the 5 things all $1 million brands have in common. Then today we're chatting about how you can make sure your team is equipped to help you keep up that $1 million brand. And finally, I'm going to chat about the top design trends that all $1 million brands have in common. So these are like in the online space right now, $4 million brands, what is actually trending? And I'm going to go through those with you as well. And if you're listening on the podcast, that next episode is probably going to be a really good one for you to watch on YouTube as well, because it'll have so many oodles of examples. But today we're going to go into equipping your team to make those great graphics for you. So I want to share with you 5 key points today that I need to make sure that you are all over each of these different points to make sure that your team is creating incredible graphics. And the first point is this: you need to give them a clear style guide. A style guide is pretty much just a set of rules or guidelines around what the style of your brand is. It's a guideline to your style. Not rocket science, but so many businesses kind of just put this on the back burner and say, oh, just quickly make this graphic, make sure you use a purple, or quickly make this graphic, this is mostly my font. And they don't really give their team enough to go off and enough strategy to go off as well. And so when you're creating a brand in the first place, hopefully, if you haven't yet, please work with me. If you're creating a brand in the first place, hopefully you've gone through the strategy. You know that it's going to attract your audience. You know that it's setting up the right feelings you want your brand to evoke. You know that it's representing you in a really authentic way. A good brand does these things, and a good brand then does those things, and it translates it through to colors that represent those things, through to fonts that represent those things, through to design elements and styles and photos that represent those things. And so as a savvy and smart $1 million business owner, or on their way to growing their business, a scaling business owner, you have decided these things for your brand, and those things are in a style guide. In a style guide or in your Canva brand kit that your team has access to. It's really important that they know all of the colors they're allowed to use, all the fonts they're allowed to use, because that's going to help to guide them on every decision to make. It's going to say, when you ask them for a post or a carousel design, they know exactly which colors to use. They don't have to try to go to your website and work out which colors you've been using and then realize you haven't been using them consistently. So it's actually not even going to back up your brand. It's a whole thing. Make sure you use your branding consistently and make sure your team knows what that is. And also just make sure that they know that they need to use it consistently. If they haven't done any design training, they're not going to know that for every single social media post you do, every single flyer you do, every single website, any single visual touch point of your business needs to follow those design rules. It needs to use the same colors, the same fonts, the same style over and over again. Make sure your team knows that. The second thing I need your team to know, which I'm speaking to this as not only a business owner myself who's directing my team to help me make my graphics, but also as someone who has worked as a designer in so many businesses. Friends, tell your team the purpose of your design. Don't just say, make X social, make a square graphic with X, Y, and Z inside. Tell them why. Is it a social media post? If so, what social media platforms is it going on? Then what part of the customer journey is it going on? Is this to attract new clients or new followers? Or is this something where you want to kind of build a relationship with people that are already with you? Is it a lead magnet? Is advertising something going into a funnel for some other program that you want to make sure it matches the branding of this particular program you're promoting? Let them know where it sits in your marketing journey so they can make design decisions that are going to incorporate that. Like, for example, I've got a program called the Co-Creation Design Club. And for that program, I used more of the green of my branding more than I did the purple of my branding. And I also used a little logo with it. And so that means that every graphic that I'm promoting that shares that program, I want my team to be using that green mostly. But if they don't know that this is a graphic that I'm using as a promotion to that particular program down the track, they're not going to know those things. And so let your team know where that graphic sits. Also let them know where it's going to appear. Is it an Instagram post? Is it a Facebook post? Is it a flyer? And if it's a flyer, is it going in letterboxes, or is it going up on a display board, or is it going to warm customers or really cold people? Let them know these things, because obviously that first point of where are they in the customer journey, and also this point of, so they know the exact sizing to make. Sometimes my clients just say, oh, make graphic. And I'm like, I need to know exactly where this is going. Otherwise, I don't know how to make it the right size. Not only just making it the right graphic size, like opening up the correct dimensions in Canva, but also what size the text needs to be. Like if you're designing a post this big on Instagram, your text can be smaller than if you were designing a business card. And so knowing where it's going, what it's doing, what its purpose is really, really important. Also let them know really key things like the time frame. You can decide how you want to do this. I personally just let people know the end date where I need it by. But if you know that you're likely going to need a couple of changes, let your team know, like, hey, this is for a graphic that I want to share on X date, but I would like you to have me a first draft by X date. That allows you time to go back and forward rather than stressing and having to go in yourself and fix it. They can say, here's the first draft. You can say, thanks, can you edit this and this? They can go away and do that. And it's a really easeful, non-nervous system collapsing process. Let them know the time frame and help them to stick to that. Don't be constantly asking for really quick graphics, because that's not going to help them to make good graphics either. Creating under pressure is not a great way to create. And so give them time. Make sure you're planning in advance to make that easier for your team. Two other tips that I have here on this same tip, like I'm still on tip number 2. This is a really big tip to really give your designer, give your VA purpose and clarity around the direction of the design. Also give them examples. So say, for example, one of my clients, and even I do this with my clients in the Co-Creation Design Club, is we'll find examples of what we want the design to look like. And so if you've been scrolling Instagram and you keep on seeing like the great carousel you want your team to design, don't just say, I want you to create a really great carousel. Give them an example. Save a link, copy that link, put it into your Asana board and say, I want to create a really great carousel. This is all my text. These are my images. This is some design inspiration. Please don't copy this, but use this as a bit of an idea. Let them know what you like about it. Then they can design things accordingly rather than having to like be inside your brain and know what you're expecting. You can show them ideas for that. And most things you're going to be doing aren't going to be new. So find inspiration and share that with them. And that way you're going to do designs that are much more accurate or quicker. And lastly, make sure you share all the text that they need. So share every single piece of text. Don't just assume that they're copywriters. Unless your VA is a copywriter and design extraordinaire, help them, Let them know all of the text you want to appear in that graphic. And not only that, let them know the hierarchy. So if you've been in my world at all, you'll know that I teach a lot about hierarchy. And if you're not, feel free to work with me. I would love to help you to learn this, because your audience, you shouldn't just add text to your design willy-nilly. You should have strategically thought through what's going to capture my audience's attention and make that the largest, and then take them on a visual journey through what they need to know. And so in a similar way, let your VA or let whoever's designing your graphics know this. Let them know, like, I want this to be the biggest piece of text because this is the most important part. Let them know that so that they can design accordingly. Got 10 minutes? Perfect, because that is all you need to give your Instagram feed a makeover that positions you as the go-to expert in your industry and boosts those organic sales. I want to give you a free guide that walks you through the 3 insider tweaks to make your feed feel authentic yet polished, weave in your brand effortlessly, and boost your posts with pro design tricks. Just head to whitedeer.com.au/IG makeover and grab the free 10-minute IG makeover guide. Let's turn your feed into a sales machine. All right, let's get back to the episode. All right, tip number 3 is how to give feedback, because even as a professional designer, me and my team, we don't get designs right the first time. And so you need to get really good at knowing how to give feedback. The first thing I need you to know is that creating a design is an artistic process. Even if they're not a professional designer, part of themselves creatively has gone into this graphic. And so you, as a good boss, which I know you want to be, you want to encourage them and light them up rather than making them feel like it's a bore and a chore to work for you. You want to give them encouragement first. Let them know what you do like about it, because chances are there's going to be something really great about it. Let them know that, because they will have put a little bit of themselves into that graphic. And for someone to turn around and say, this sucks, please change this, and this, it kind of really hurts your soul as the creative person. So make sure you're just letting them know some things that you like about it first. Next, be clear on what is wrong. So let them know what's wrong, but not just, I'll change this. Let them know why you want to change that. Do you know why? Because not only is it going to make sure that they actually do a good job of changing it, but it means that next time they're creating a graphic for you, they can learn from this error they've made in this design, and they can apply what they've learned because you've told them the why behind why you're asking for the change. So say they haven't understood hierarchy yet, you can say, can you please make this larger? Because I want this to be the first thing that people see when they scroll past on Instagram. Let them know the why and let them know the changes, and make those changes really clear. You can either do a Loom recording and step through what you want changed, or you can just add some dot points in Asana or wherever your project management system is, but make it really clear so they don't miss anything. And then if you find they're really off the mark, that's where we can provide examples again, or if you forgot to provide examples at the start, provide examples for them so they can see what you're thinking, what's in your brain. If you're not good at designing graphics yourself, or you don't know how to, you don't have the time, find an example of what kind of thing you want so you can show them, and then tell them what you like about the example. Don't just say, copy this, say, I like this because of X, Y, and Z, copy those traits about it, because we don't want to just be copying other people's graphics. That's not the point. We want to let our team know what we like about the graphics we're asking them to get inspiration from. Or if you don't want to do all of this feedback stuff, you can actually get me to do it for you. I know. So I actually have a program, I've mentioned it a couple times, the Co-Creation Design Club, and you can get your team and you to join this program, and I can actually help your team for you. So you might say to them outside of our program, oh, can you design me a social media post on X, Y, and Z? And they can come to me inside our Slack community. They can say, oh, Jacqui, I need to design this graphic for my boss. This is what I've got so far. And I can say, oh, hey, you're in a great role. I can do all this feedback stuff for you. I can let them know, oh, the hierarchy's not there. That color is wrong. That's not their branding color, because I'm actually in your brand. And so the benefit of this is I can direct your team for you. And so whether you have, so you kind of come in two stages. Maybe you've got a brand already and you need help for your team to actually apply said brand to everything. Or maybe you don't have a brand yet and you and your team and me can design that together. And then you can kind of step back a little bit and let your team take the rest, and I can help them going forward. That's what this program is all about. So if you're actually needing help to design your graphics, you can join us as just you. If you're listening to this and you don't have a team, you're very welcome to join us just you. Or if you have a team and you want to make sure that you stop wasting time editing their graphics all the time, you stop putting out haphazard content that's not actually growing your business, and you equip them to use their time wisely and equip them for creating graphics for you for the future perfectly, then let me help you to equip them to do that. All right, the fourth tip I want to share with you to help your team create $1 million graphics is to create a set of templates. Again, this is the kind of thing I can help you and your team with inside the Co-Creation Design Club. But in essence, what I want you to do this is think through, what graphics am I needing to share? What graphics am I needing to put out into the world? Whether it's a carousel template, whether it's a quote post. Quote posts are kind of not in anymore. I wouldn't recommend doing those. Whether it's a testimonial, whether it's a promotional post, whether it's a real cover, whether it's a flyer, whether they're presentation slides, whatever it is, you and your team should create templates for all of these different things that they can go back to. Not only you can say, oh, I want to create a carousel. Like for me, for example, for my system for how my business runs, I create these podcasts and YouTube tutorials, and then put this into an AI thing that pumps out my transcript, and then it gives me an idea for a carousel. I go through and I create a carousel text for it. I then assign that to my team and say, use the podcast carousel template, and they just apply it, add in a couple of zhuzhi bits, and it's done, because they don't have to start from scratch, so it's saving them time. I don't have to give them a huge amount of instructions because we've already created a template that we like. We've done that hard work at the start, and then it's just so great. So think through the graphics you're making regularly and create templates for those. And chances are you've already got templates for those that is flung around your Canva in a disorganized mess. So instead, pull all those together, systematize them. You can assign this to your VA to pull them all together. You don't have to do this. And then you can go through with them together, maybe jump on a call for 10 minutes and say, yep, this template's good, delete that one, I never liked that one. Let's create one more around this idea. Here's an example that I like, and you're done. You don't have to start from scratch every single time. And again, if you want help with your team making templates for you, want to make some templates with me, jump into the club and I can help you to do that. And finally, the clincher, which is tip number 5, which is make sure your team team knows design principles. I was talking before about hierarchy. This is just one of the many design principles you or your team should know to create really incredible graphics. So just to list off a couple, we've got hierarchy, we've got white space, we've got contrast, we've got balance, we've got correct sizing and dimensions, we've got correct sizing and dimensions compared to what you're actually posting. There's so many things you and your team just need to know to be able to do design well, because design isn't just about looking pretty. It is very much about looking pretty, and these principles will help you to do that. But it's also about creating graphics that communicate with your audience, that speak to your expertise, that speak to your professionalism, that draw people in. And if you're VA or you don't know these principles and you're just going around creating random graphics, you're going to make mistakes, and it's going to deteriorate your brand. It's going to be unclear, and it's not going to attract the right audience. And so making sure that you equip you and your team with those things. And again, if you need help with that, you can join me in the Co-Creation Design Club with your team member. Or if it's just you and you've got a really small business and you're still listening to this episode, hi, I do have a program called DIY Design My Biz, and that will also teach you some incredible things around design principles. When you join the club, you get access to DIY Design My Biz, so you can send your team straight through it, or you can go through it if you join the club, but you can also just join it as a standalone program if you've got a small budget. So I hope that's been useful for you as you think about how you can strategically use design for your business and have it not make you pull your hair out when your team tries to do it for you. It's really important that you remember these tips. So just to give you a recap, create clear brand guidelines, make sure you set the purpose and the intention for the design so they know what they're going for, give really clear and kind feedback, create templates for you and the team, and also making sure that you know design principles. It's also a point of your team needs to know them, but also you need to have a rough idea of design principles. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to direct your team well. So I think it's important that us as a business owner is also equipped. This is the case whether you're totally outsourcing design, whether you're doing it yourself, or whether you'll get someone in-house to do it. All of these options mean that you as a business owner need to have some clue about design so that you can direct things well. Otherwise, you're going to be posting things that aren't actually communicating, and you're the CEO, you're the boss. You should be knowing what's working and not. I was talking to some people at a conference the other day, and they were sharing that they had outsourced their design to a social media management team. Cool, fine, great. But they were doing a rubbish job because they technically weren't designers, and they've been getting the hierarchy all wrong, and they were straying away from the brand a little bit. And all of those things are going to deteriorate the brand. So making sure you're on top of these things as well as a business owner is so, so important. So thank you for joining me for this episode. Making sure you apply to join the club if you're interested in that. It sounds incredible. Trust me, it is incredible. I would love to have you. And in the meantime, stay tuned for that next episode on the design trends for $1 million businesses right now in the online space. Thanks for joining me. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button if you're on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe if you're on a podcast. And if you haven't already, I would so love a review. Reviews just help me to know I'm on the right track, because obviously when I keep on talking to you out loud, I can't actually hear from you. I can't actually hear if it's resonating. So do let me know that if you're watching on YouTube, add a comment. And if you're in the podcast, make sure you leave a review so that I can know how it's hitting, how it's landing, and it also helps more people to find this podcast and be helped through their business's design. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week for another episode. Bye.